Well, good morning once again, and welcome to our segment Spotlight on the Cults. And I believe this morning, James, we're looking at the Christian Science Church.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about it, and more importantly, who began the whole thing?
Well, it was begun in the 1830s by a man called Quimby, Dr. Quimby, who was a self-taught medical doctor. He had no qualifications as such, and he commenced his cult, and several years would elapse before Mary Baker Eddy came along and rehashed it and made it a very vibrant and successful mind over matter cult.
So who is this lady, Mary Baker Eddy? Who was she?
Well, Mary Baker Eddy was a student of Quimby, and she was able to master some of the techniques that he had come up with. The old mind over matter routine, that if you have an illness, it's all in the mind, and if you are able to blot it out or somehow ignore it, that it goes away.
Was this quite fashionable then, this sort of mind over matter thing, within sort of New Age, suffragettes and all this sort of thing?
I think it was.
Alternative medicines?
Medicine was very expensive in those days, and any way to alleviate pain and to save money would obviously be welcomed.
So is there any spiritual, biblical background in any of this at all?
Well, they deny the deity of Christ, they deny the triunity of God, they deny that there's such a thing as sin, and of course only Mary Baker Eddy could understand and interpret the Bible correctly.
So she did her own interpretation, a bit like Judge Rutherford and Joseph Smith.
And Ellen White.
And Ellen White,
yes. Who
will be coming to in another series. And she obviously put her slant on this,
yes.
And obviously did it in quite a successful way that the movement took off.
Yes, it did. She's an interesting woman. I mean, she's married 3 times, buried 3 husbands, and of course the 2 things that go against Mrs. Eddy. The first thing was she was a plagiarist, and the second thing was she was a morphine addict, which is quite unhelpful when you are teaching a religion which is against medicine.
That would have been an expensive habit then, as it would be now, so she must have had money coming in to fuel this habit that she had.
Well, she did courses and gave classes, and her students paid quite a lot of money to be taught and to sit at her feet to learn a new religion.
Sounds a bit like a guru.
Yes, I think she probably would have been a guru of her day. Very well educated woman, but of course what she was teaching was flagged up at the time as a classic non-Christian cult, and it has grown now to 400,000 members worldwide, multi-million dollar religion, and it's still growing.
So where's the money come from then with such a small congregation?
Well, they sell books, they have their own publications, and it's more successful in America than it is in England or parts of Europe, but it's been around for what, nearly 200 years now.
Well, I've only ever known one Christian scientist. This was a woman I met back in the 60s who told me about this, and I'd never heard anything like it. But what you do find, most of the viewers will know, what most of the viewers will know is that in your town there's always a Christian Science reading room.
Yeah.
And I've passed many of them. I've looked inside and I've never seen anybody in any of them.
No.
What's the purpose of this then?
I think it's more just status, really. I mean, they want to have a library or a reading room available to members of the public worldwide, but as you rightly say, nobody ever uses them anyway.
Been in one yourself?
No, it's more of a status thing.
No, I think when we were in somewhere a few years ago down in Folkestone, I think you tried to go and it was locked or something like that.
That's right.
But you never see anyone in there, and there's usually in the front window there's a Bible.
Yeah.
I don't know what version this is. I presume it's not the AV,
no.
Which is turned each day. So it gives you this idea that this cult or movement or whatever you call it is Bible based, but of course it's not. You say
no. Well, they don't believe in sin, so there's no such thing as an illness, and if you are ill, you just have to muddle through it and try and get matter over.
So no doctor for anything.
Well, you knew a woman, didn't you, back in South London, who fell down the stairs once, wasn't there a story?
That's right, yeah.
Do you remember how it went?
No, I can't, but I remember she didn't go to the doctor, and of course complications set in, and sadly, tragically for her family, she died.
Yeah.
And of course Jean Harlow, the famous Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer film star, was Christian Scientist. She fell under the spell, or rather Jean Harlow's mother did. And in her day she was a very important, famous actress, of course. She did contract some pneumonia, I believe, when she was working in Hollywood, Clark Gable. And he did say that he used to go and visit her, and she was getting worse and worse. He said he could smell death coming out of her throat as she spoke. Terrible thing, really, but her mother said, no doctors at all.
Wasn't Judy Garland's husband a Christian Scientist?
Judy Garland, yeah, that's Sid Luft, of course.
The second husband?
The second husband, yes, that's right. So it seems to celebrities in showbiz have flirted with it. Now, the other thing, of course, with the Christian Science is the Christian Science Monitor.
Yes.
Famous American newspaper,
Yeah.
Which you see on many book stands when you go on holiday at most airports.
Yeah.
What's the circulation on this paper?
I think it's about 73,000.
You can't run a paper on that sort of circulation.
It's run at a loss for many, many years. Indeed, the whole religion seems to run at a loss, but because of status and their place in the world, they seem to be able to subsidise it and write it off.
I mean, it's amazing they keep going. Haven't they got some television stations as well?
Well, they tried to go into television in the 90s, but of course that bombed, and they also lost a case to George Galloway in 2004. They had to pay him several £1,000s of damages. So they've had last 10-20 years have been bad years for the Christian Science cult.
Will it die out, do you think, or keep going?
I think it'll rumble on. I mean, these cults seem to offer people something, but if it can't pay for itself, how long do you subsidise it for?
Okay, then, well, anything else you'd like to say about this before we go? What about the viewers out there who might know somebody? You'd like to hear from them, would you?
Yes, I would. I mean, the problem with the Christian Science cult is they're not a very well-known organisation, so people who would come across them would consider them to be Christian or at best wayward people. But they do deny the cardinal aspects of Christianity. Indeed, Mary Baker Eddy said it made little difference that Jesus was ever born. So we can take it from her that it was better that she lived than he lived. And even when she died, she was buried with a phone in her coffin.
I was going to mention, is this true?
Yes, it was.
She was obviously frightened of being buried alive then?
Well, she didn't think she was dead.
Oh, I see.
And so when I'm in my coffin, I'll ring up and let people know I'm still alive. But she did die, and as she died...
As they all do.
As they all do. 10 out of 10 die, and it's my belief she went straight to hell.
Unsaved, of course. Rejecting the Bible and rejecting the great salvation that Christ offers. Okay, then, well, that's our short segment on the Christian Science. We're always interested to hear what you say about this, because we make this so that you may know about these cults and warn other people about them. So from this ministry, once again, thank you, Maranatha, and good luck.